readers. So we all know that when we know our why, our what becomes all the more purposeful. So I want you to think about that today in terms of reading. Why does it matter to be awesome at our what? Which in our class, one of the whats is reading. Maybe it'll pay off if we start thinking about our why. So you can see I've put here, why do I read? And to think about, like, know your why. Readers read for so many different reasons. And that's what I want to teach you today, is that readers are stronger at their reading if they know their purpose and read for many different reasons. Those reasons are different for everyone. So know your why. Watch me take some steps today to figure out how I can make a plan that reflects my reading purpose, okay? And it's okay if yours looks different than mine, but watch me in a way that you might try this work today too. So on this chart, I thought I'd first start today, if I'm gonna follow some steps to figure out my why, one of the first things I might do is make a reading timeline. And I want to revisit, the reason I would make a timeline is because I want to revisit all the times where I've read, and I want to think, what do I think reading actually is? Then I also pushed myself to think about this question. What do I tend to read? So I want to notice what I tend to read, and then I want to ask myself, why do I read? What are my different reasons for reading? And finally, I push myself to make a plan that actually reflects my reading purpose and how that can change over years of time. So again, the whole purpose is to know my why so that maybe I can get better at my reading that I'm going to be doing a lot of. Okay, so the next piece I want to show you is, in order to figure out my why, I actually revisited my timeline with the timeline all the way back to when I was a lot younger. So even before kindergarten, I was thinking, well, it's not just been that I've been a reader of chapter books for my whole life. I know that when I was younger, I would read things like signs in the back of a car while I was in a car, or maybe maps when I was on a car trip. I would read books with my mom or dad or teacher, and I would start to notice articles in newspapers that my parents would be reading, or even TV ads. So I have a lot of different reasons for reading over the years. Before kindergarten, you can even see that a lot of times our reading is just to simply start to learn our names or ask for help. Maybe even in early elementary school, I was thinking I would read a lot to maybe have to find my classroom, to know which classroom door I was going into. I would love to read just to enjoy fun stories. And yes, that's still one of my reasons for reading today. But I'd also eventually, as I got into upper elementary school, I remember trying to learn about kids like me and not like me as a reader, and even to learn about new places around the world. I was fascinated by that. So I'll continue into middle school and high school and beyond, but here's what I also want to show you. I started to think about how I read the world. And when I read the world, you might notice you read the world in a variety of ways too. I read feature articles, blogs, maps, a lot of digital text. I'm constantly reading things from my phone, TV, or computer. And I read a lot of books, novels, and series, billboards. There's a lot of ways we do reading. So that opened my mind to ways I read the world. And then I pushed myself, okay, so why am I reading? Like, what is my why? So when I go back to my timeline and I think about my why, and I start to look at how my reasons for reading have continued to grow, change, and some of them continue to stay the same. But I read for a lot of different reasons. I think I read to connect, for example. And that can be book clubs. I love to connect with my book club when we're reading books together. I think sometimes when you're reading with others or reading about the world, you don't feel as alone. I read to learn more. And that is important for me, to learn more about the world around me. I read to better understand, especially to things that are foreign to me. A lot of times I read to find my why. Like, for example, when I was in middle school and thinking about how do I best survive this time in my life, your why, and even to find peace with who you are and who you're like or different from. And I also read sometimes to be healthy. So that can be a lot of different variety of things. Healthy, I like to read about, runners and exercise, or even just mental health. And I'll share some things with you later about some of my favorite reads as we go. But mental health can be important too. So I read for a lot of reasons. And of course, I read to be entertained. And that's a great reason for reading too. Okay. So I want to show you that I went from doing some reflecting on my reading life and the types of things I did to read to getting to my why. What are my purposes that I figured out? And I actually used that to help me make a plan that reflects my latest purpose, which is to really connect, learn, and see new perspectives. So I'm now thinking about how I could make a reading plan. And one of the books that I recently just purchased, and I'm actually reading it from my Kindle, so I'll put it under here, is a book called The Hero Next Door. I know it's hard to read, but it's a collection of short stories about everyday heroes. And I want to read to learn more about people in the world who are trying to do things to make the world better. That also might lead me to go to other books like It's Trevor Noah, Born a Crime, and this is stories from his South African childhood, and it's adapted for young readers. But I think there are, this might be a reason for me to read because I'm trying to connect with others in the world who are on a mission to better understand racism, anti-racism, and our own lives. Sometimes I read to learn or to better understand. Here's another one that's on my on-deck list. It's called Unselfie, Why Empathetic Kids Succeed in Our All About Me World, and how empathy is a really important piece in our world. And of course, I read to learn, and as a teacher, I read lots of teacher books. So this is one called Onward, and it's about cultivating emotional resilience in educators, because teaching and learning is an important job, and it's a job I love, and it's important for us to take care of each other and have resilience with that. So you'll notice that you can think about what I've just done here, okay? Let's name the steps back so you can think about trying this yourself, okay? First, what have I done as a reader? I made a timeline, okay? And then I thought about how I read the world. What are different ways I read the world? Then I pushed myself to think, why do I read? What's my purpose? And as I noticed, when I added that to my timeline, I have a lot of different purposes for reading, okay? Finally, I asked, if that's true for me, what's next? If I know some of the reasons I read, what are some books that I could have on deck or on my Sunday list that could help me on my path to my why, okay? So today, here's what I'd like you to try. I want you to try to make a timeline. That could be something you do. Of the types of ways that you read the world. You could even add your reasons for reading to your timeline and see if those have changed or stayed the same over time. And all of that could help you lead to making a reading plan. Maybe you're going to think about what types of books you want to read. Maybe you have some ideas for types of books you want to start searching for. But do some thinking today with how you might read and your why. I can't wait to hear from you and see some of your reasons for reading.